Albert and the Secret of the Well. The village of Greendale had always been a place of peace, nestled deep in the valley between towering hills. It was one of those charming, sleepy villages where everyone knew each other, and rumors seemed to sprout as easily as the wildflowers in the fields. Of all the old stories, there was one that had lingered for generations, the legend of the well. It sat at the edge of the village, hidden beneath thick vines and shadows, forgotten by most and avoided by many. To the villagers, the well was cursed. It was said to bring misfortune to anyone who dared approach it, its waters cold and dark, its bottom unreachable. For years, no one had dared to go near it, and the well became an object of fear and superstition, one of those things no one questioned, but everyone avoided. Albert, however, was different. At 19 years old, Albert was a curious and thoughtful young man, the son of the village blacksmith. He was clever, inquisitive, and never one to accept things without understanding them. The well had fascinated him since he was a child, even though he'd been warned about it countless times. "Albert, don't go near that well," his mother would say, her face pale with worry. The old stories, they're true. People who go there never come back the same. Albert, however, never feared stories. He feared ignorance more. And as he grew older, the well became an enigma that gnawed at his thoughts. The more people spoke of its curse, the more Albert felt compelled to solve its mystery. One warm spring morning, after finishing his work in the forge, Albert decided that today would be the day he would discover the truth behind the well. He'd heard all the rumors about strange figures seen by its side at night, whispers of ghostly voices, and the tragic tale of an old woman who had once lost her daughter to the well. But Albert wasn't interested in the rumors. He wanted to know what lay at the bottom of those dark waters. With a leather satchel slung across his shoulder, Albert made his way through the village, past the cottages with their blooming gardens and crooked fences. His parents' home sat at the edge of the village, near the path that led to the woods. It wasn't long before he reached the clearing that held the well. The sight of it was nothing like he had imagined. The well itself was small and old, made of crumbling stone, covered in a thick layer of ivy. It stood there like an ancient relic, half swallowed by the earth, its dark waters reflecting the trees and sky above. Despite the natural beauty around it, Albert felt an unmistakable heaviness in the air, as though the ground itself was holding its breath. For a long moment, Albert simply stood there, looking at the well. There was no ghostly apparition, no eerie sound. Just the silence of the woods. His heart pounded as he stepped closer, his fingers itching to touch the cool stone. "What's the worst that could happen?" he muttered under his breath. He crouched by the edge of the well and peered into the depths. The water was still, dark as pitch, but there was something about it, something that made him uneasy. It wasn't just water. It was as if the well itself watched him, waiting for something. "Hello?" Albert called, half expecting a voice to respond, like in the stories. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, as if the well itself had answered, a soft, rumbling voice emerged from the depths. "You've come at last." Albert jumped back, his heart skipping a beat. He looked around, but there was no one there. Who's there?" he demanded, his voice shaking slightly. "I am the well," the voice continued, calm and unhurried. "I have waited a long time for someone who dares to seek the truth." Albert furrowed his brow. "The truth? What truth?" The voice chuckled softly. "You wonder why people fear me? Why they whisper of curses and misfortune? The truth is that I hold no malice. But I have power, and that power comes with a price." Albert swallowed hard, but his curiosity burned brighter than his fear. "What do you mean by power?" The voice grew more serious. "I have the power to grant a wish, a desire, but those who come seeking it must be careful. Many seek wealth, some seek fame, others power. They come with selfish intentions, and they leave changed, twisted by their desires. But you, young one, you seek something else." Albert's mind raced. He thought of all the stories, of the villagers who spoke of a curse, of the lost souls who had wandered away from the well, never the same. But he also remembered the villagers' struggles, the poor harvests, the relentless droughts, the sickness that had spread last winter. They were a hard-working people, but the well had never been something they could use. "I don't want riches or fame," Albert said, his voice firm. "I want to help my village. The crops have been failing, the river's running low, and people are afraid. If there's something you can do, something we can use, then I want to help them." The well was silent for a moment. Albert held his breath, waiting. And then the voice spoke again, softer this time. "You have the heart of a true servant. You seek not for yourself, but for those you care for." Albert nodded, feeling a rush of warmth in his chest. "Yes, I want to make things better for everyone." The well stirred as if it was thinking, its waters rippling despite the lack of wind. "Very well, Albert. I will grant your wish. But remember, power must always be used wisely." The ground beneath Albert's feet trembled slightly, and the voice continued. "There is a source beneath me, a hidden spring that can restore the land. If you dig deep enough, you will find it. You must draw the water from the depths, and it will nourish your village. But be warned, if you take too much, the land will grow barren. Moderation is key." Albert's heart raced as the weight of the well's words settled over him. A hidden spring, a way to end the drought and restore the land. His mind spun with the possibilities, but he knew he had to be cautious. He had to do this right. "Thank you," Albert said, his voice sincere. "I promise I will use this wisely." The voice replied, "You have the wisdom to see the path ahead. But remember this, the well does not choose the worthy or the unworthy. It only grants power to those who ask." With that, the rumbling voice fell silent, and the air grew still again. Albert turned to look at the earth around the well. The ground was soft, but it didn't look any different from the rest of the clearing. He knelt down, feeling the soil, and with a sudden impulse, began to dig. At first, it was slow work, just the weight of his hands pressing into the earth. But as he dug deeper, the soil seemed to shift beneath him, and he felt something more, an ancient, powerful force hidden in the earth. After what felt like hours, his shovel hit something hard, a stone. He cleared away the dirt, revealing a stone basin, cracked but intact. Water bubbled up from its depths, clear and cool, flowing in a steady stream. Albert's heart swelled with triumph. The spring was real. And it was here, beneath the well, hidden for all these years. He quickly filled his flask with the fresh water and, with the spring still flowing, began to return to the village. As he walked back, the ground seemed to hum with life, the trees around him rustling as if in approval. When Albert reached the village, he hurried to the center square, where the village council was meeting. The elders were discussing the usual matters, harvests, trade, and repairs, but as Albert arrived, he interrupted them with a sense of urgency. "I have found the solution," Albert announced, holding up his flask filled with the water from the well. "The well is not cursed. It's a source of power. Beneath it lies a spring that can restore the land. It can bring us fresh water, restore the crops, and stop the drought." The elders stared at him, wide-eyed. "Impossible," one of them said, but Albert was undeterred. "I dug beneath the well. The spring is real." With a mix of disbelief and curiosity, the council agreed to allow Albert to guide them to the site. When they arrived, the villagers marveled at the spring bubbling up from the ground, and for the first time in years, hope began to bloom in their hearts. Over the next few weeks, Albert oversaw the careful excavation of the spring, ensuring that the water was channeled into the village's irrigation systems without overwhelming the land. Slowly, the crops began to thrive again. The river filled, and the village's once dying fields flourished. The drought that had haunted them for years was finally broken. Albert became a hero in Ravensbrück, not for his bravery or cunning, but for his wisdom. He had unlocked the secret of the well, not as a source of dark power or ruin, but as a tool for good, a blessing for his people. And as the years passed, the legend of the well changed. It was no longer a story of fear, but one of hope and renewal. And Albert, the boy who sought only to help his village, became the man who transformed it forever.